She took her mom's card, purchased iPhone, iPad, a laptop, and then gambling on FanDuel, over $11,000 charged on the card. It is sadly unacceptable.
Yeah.
This is People of the State of Michigan versus Amy Jo Brawlett. There are two files, 267402 and 7407FH. Time of day set for sentencing in each of the respective files. Ms. Brawlett was present, represented by Attorney Dallas L. Rooney. People are represented by Prosecuting Attorney Timothy J. Rutkowski. Back on March 2nd of this year, the defendant in 7402 pled to larceny $1,000 to $20,000 and possession of illegal possession and use of a financial transaction device. In 7407, the defendant pled no contest to larceny $1,000 to $20,000. Ms. Karen Everlands prepared the pre-sentence report dated April 9, 2026. Mr. Rooney, have you and your client had the opportunity to review the report?
We have not.
Are there any additions, deletions, corrections, or objections to the report?
None to the report, none to the guidelines, but we did send a letter that she had addressed to you.
Correct, and I do recall reading that, yes.
That's the only addition.
All right. Do you agree with that, Ms. Brawlett?
Yes.
Mr. Rutkowski, any objection to the report as well as comment?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Rooney, anything you'd like to say on behalf of your client before the court imposes sentence?
Yes, Your Honor. My client's 54 years old now. She's on disability due to some physical ailments that were listed in the PSI. She also has some mental health issues that are also listed. I believe the narrative also mentioned the fact that she had a suicide attempt right around the same time that this latest episode was being discovered. She was arrested. So she does have some mental health issues to address as well. As her letter to you indicated, she has issues controlling herself, which I think nowadays we call that impulsivity. She wants to change, she wants to stop her behaviors, but she's having difficulty actually getting herself to listen to herself, so to speak. She is very sorry for her actions. She has been attending Bible study while in the jail. She has been on a parole detainer since her arrest, which means that she's been sitting for about 4 months now with no credit. Unfortunately, the recommendation for the guidelines is basically at the top. I'm asking you to consider something in the middle of the range. And here's the reason. The last time she was here before you on a similar type of incident, she got basically 2.5 years in prison. Went to the middle of the range, just keeping in mind that she's had essentially dead time for the last 4 months. I know that it's your practice and most judges' practice to give people increasing increments of jail or prison time when they keep coming back. So if you were to give her 3, that's more than she got last time. She has a daughter graduating in May of 29, which would be 3 years from now, which she would hope to be able to attend that in person. I would also mention, I think her letter might mention this too, that her father died while she was in prison, and then her mother died shortly after she got out. And we had tried to get her to be able to attend her mother's funeral, but DOC didn't agree with that. So she has paid some fairly heavy consequences, personal consequences, as a result of this latest cases. She does take personal responsibility for her actions. She did plead guilty to all these plea bargains. So I'm asking for less than the probation officer's recommendation, which is at the high end, if not the actual high end. Keeping in mind the fact that these are property crimes, and total damages, while still significant, are way less than what she had prior to incident, quite a bit less. We're asking to waive the attorney fees and notwithstanding her no contest pleas, I think she does want to speak to you today.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ms. Brawlett, what would you like to say?
Morning. I'd like to apologize to my children. I had higher expectations for myself. Losing my dad unexpectedly in August of 24 and not being able to say goodbye was extremely tough. As I look forward to going home and helping my mother, she tells me she only has 3 to 6 months to live. And in that 6 months, on January 25th, 2026, she passed away. Your Honor, I spent 64 nights with my mother as her caregiver first and a daughter second. It was a battle of tough love between her dementia, hallucinations, medications, personal care, and repetitive conversations multiple times a day. It was mentally exhausting. In November, I asked my youngest sister for help as she is the administrator of our parents' estate. She refused to accommodate me, told me it wasn't possible, when in fact her Black Friday shopping was priority. I cried almost every day. I thought my mom was too stubborn to die, but watching her decline before my eyes was the absolute worst punishment ever. I missed both of my parents' funerals. My oldest son is getting married next year. I need a right hip replacement and my knee is messed up. I can barely stand or walk. My PO kept telling me to take care of myself, but it was kind of hard when I was the only one there. I had 2 other sisters who refused to step up to help me until they were given no choice when I left my mom's house on December 17th, which was the last day I saw my mom. We all know I'm far from perfect, Your Honor. I just needed a mental break in November to reset myself. This wasn't what I had in mind. I just want more time with my mom. A daughter without her mother is a woman broken. It is a loss that turns to arthritis and settles deep in your bones. This I now know. My mom was my worst enemy, but my biggest supporter. And not being able to say goodbye to her and my dad because of my own actions is just cruel. I'm suffering every day. Every time I look at my mom's obituary, I just can't believe that she's gone. Her cancer, she had bone cancer, was horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. And Your Honor, I know the court wants to throw the book at me, and I probably deserve it. But I feel I've already had the worst punishment a daughter could get, and that was losing both my parents and not being able to grieve them properly.
You're welcome. Mr. Rakowski, on behalf of the people, this is a victim's rights case.
It is a victim's rights case. We ask you to take into account the victim's impact statement included in the pre-sentence. Without going into detail on that, the court's read the pre-sentence reports. You've seen that. We've talked about this case in the office. It's very sad. The circumstance that Ms. Brawlett brings up, it's true. But the recommendations are based, I believe, in fact, on the fact that the last time that we were here, and mind you, Ms. Brawlett has 9 prior felonies and 4 prior misdemeanors, but one of them involved taking money from her mother. And then we get to this case where her mother, when she gets out of prison, her mother wanted to see her again and to interact with her. Ms. Brawlett described her interactions with her mom. The fact is, though, that she'd taken her mom's debit card and used it at these 2 different places to the tune of the amount that the court has in front of it. And when you victimize somebody once and then you victimize them again, and she knew her mother's circumstance, I think that's why, and we would ask to adopt the recommendations because it is at the high end of the guidelines, but I believe the circumstances of what Ms. Brawlett did, just getting out on parole, it's the same thing. It is worse because she knew her mother was dying as it is, and then she uses this debit card from her mom to not just use it once, not use it twice, but use it multiple times at 2 different locations. That's why we have the 2 separate files, Your Honor. As far as the credit, there is no credit because she's on parole, but the dead time that she's serving is going to go towards her parole violation. And so it's not going to be that she's not going to get any credit for it. It's just she's going to get it on her parole, not on this file.
It's difficult when you lose a parent or lose parents. And certainly Ms. Brawlett experienced that not too long ago. And the last time Ms. Brawlett was here, yes, a prison sentence was imposed, but the idea was learn from that experience and don't repeat the behavior. And the court understands there's some mental health considerations as well, and the court has considered those, but at the end of the day, Ms. Brawlett was on parole while her mom was in hospice care. She took her mom's card, purchased iPhone, iPad, a laptop, and then gambling on FanDuel, over $11,000 charged on the card. And, you know, maybe there's addictions relative to gambling because that's certainly difficult once you get into that. But having the love of your parents, your mom who's dying, but then to take her card and do what you did, Ms. Brawlett, is sadly unacceptable.
Your Honor,
You've had the opportunity, Ms. Brawlett. You've had the opportunity to speak. That's what I read in the pre-sentence.
I had no help. I couldn't leave her there by herself. I was the only one there for 64 nights.
So what gave you the right to take the card and use it?
I
How
had-
does that correlate? It doesn't.
I had no right,
That's the point.
and I take full responsibility.
And the court
But
appreciates
who was
that.
there to help me? Nobody. And it's not about me. I'm not saying it's about me. I had stuff I was dealing with too, but nobody stepped up to the plate. What was I supposed to do? I did what I did to get out of the situation, so my other sisters had to step up.
How does that help with gambling?
I wanted to pay off my debts. I was alone and I'm still alone.
It will be the sentence of this court. The 7402 FH for count 1. Defendant is committed to the Michigan Corrections Commission, placed in their custody for a period of 48 months, 30 years, credit for no time served, $130 crime victims assessment will be ordered. Attorney fees are waived in all files. $68 in state costs will be ordered. June 22nd, due date 2026. Count 2, financial transaction device will be the sentence of this court. Defendant be committed to the Michigan Corrections Commission and placed in their custody for a period of 2 years to a maximum of 15 years. Credit for no time served, $68 in state costs will be ordered. And if I wasn't clear in count 1, it's 48 months to 30 years, if I didn't state that. Count 3, financial transaction device illegal sale or use. Same sentence, 24 months, Department of Corrections to a maximum of 15 years, no credit for time served, $68 in state costs will be ordered. In 7407 will be the sentence of this court that the defendant be committed to the Michigan Corrections Commission and placed in their custody for a period of 36 months, 5 years, no credit for time served, $130 crime victims assessment. Again, attorney fees are waived. $68 in state costs will be ordered. These sentences shall be served concurrently with each other, but consecutive to the parole sentence. It's my duty to inform the defendant she has right to seek leave to appeal. If she's financially unable to provide counsel of her own choice, court will assign counsel for expense. She's to initial the receipt questionnaire form requesting the assignment of counsel, both of which must be executed under oath filed with the clerk of the court within 42 days. Was there any restitution requested?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
Under 12,000.
Yeah, there's no restitution requested.
Your Honor, my understanding is fake.
Okay. Remanded in custody of the sheriff. Don't go.
Here you go.